Last time on Island ADV.
I think we're like about 30 minutes outside of Bridgewater.
Once again, we're here in the afternoon heading towards camp, and we're prioritizing this a little bit. We're talking about the pirate treasure that is supposedly existent on Oak Island.
Overflowing with goodness.
I'm pretty out there, that's for sure. So good morning from Graves Island. It is officially day 5. And that means it's the final day of the trip. And that means my mind is blown that I've been able to stay on the motorcycle camping overnight for this long. This is the longest duration I've ever been on the bike. And man, it's been a really, really amazing trip. Just seeing mornings like this every time, it's been fantastic. But it is time to make our way back to our little island. So the plan this morning is to kind of take it, a little bit slower than we normally have been doing it. Normally in the morning we're up at like 0600 and we're like getting everything packed up as soon as we can to kind of beat the mist and then get out onto the road and hit the trails. But today it's going to be a little bit more of a slow coffee day. Maybe go and actually find that sit-down breakfast we've been looking for all trip long. And then we're going to meander our way to Caribou, where we're going to try to pick up the Wood Islands Caribou Ferry. And then, well, we'll be back to Prince Edward Island. So, until we're all packed up, until we have the bikes out on the road again, I'll catch you then. But man, oh man, I hope you got a morning like this to enjoy. If you do, Island Riders, take 5 minutes and soak it up, I guess. Oh, you can hear the fish jumping out there, eh? Oh, I should have brought a fishing rod.
Good. Everybody looks good. Cool. Well, last ride out of camp for the trip. Bikes are looking good. We did a couple chain adjustments there this morning. Some chains, slack adjustment to take a little bit of the extra slop out of her that I had going. Now she's a little bit more apt for the asphalt appreciation we'll get into today. You all set?
All set.
All right. Away we go. On to hopefully find some breakfast. This was a super decent campground though, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Some brave folks swimming out in the water. I can't imagine that being too warm today, but what do I know, I guess. But yeah, we're out here again on the Highway 3. Just taking in the beauty of these scenic coastal vistas as we wind through the twisties on this asphalt. And what we're gonna do is we're making our way down to Peggy's Cove. Because I wanted to see that. I thought that was a really pretty place. I always see it like all over the place. People on the news, falling in the water and having a hard time getting recovered by the Coast Guard. So I figured I'd see what all the fuss is about. I don't think I'll go swimming, but I definitely know it's really pretty. right, so we're getting into Peggy's Cove now, which is a really beautiful spot on the South Shore. We're kind of taking it as an aside from our route home, you know, but it's definitely worth it. Because it just looks really, really pretty in here. And this ride overall, this route 333 that comes down off of that Route 3 was just an amazing little array of twisties and like coastal vistas and like little harbor towns. It's just awesome. I loved it. Very exciting. When you do stuff like this, it doesn't feel like you're riding for a long time. How you doing, ma'am?
Motorcycle parking. As soon as you go up the hill there on the right-hand side, you'll see motorcycle parking.
Very good. Thank you very much. Well, isn't that a treat? Oh, look at the beautiful BMW here. What a treat to be able to have our own bike. Look at that. I love that seat on it, the white frame. Pretty popular spot, wouldn't you say? I'd say it's pretty much because of like the fact that this place is just so iconic to Nova Scotia. For one, I mean, you see Peggy's Cove Lighthouse pretty much on every little bit of artwork that you see that depicts the South Shore of Nova Scotia. So that's why you see a lot of people here. They want to be in the presence of it. In addition to that, there was a really bad air crash that happened just off the coast here, Flight 111, Swiss Air, and it claimed a lot of lives. So there is a memorial down the road from it there too, which is a little bit somber of the area, but still, it's another beautiful part of the South Shore that we managed to take in here today. And I'm glad I was able to do it. I'm glad we took a little sidetrack from our route home. But I think what we're going to do now is get back to the road home. And it's a little bit of a long one for us. So I'll pick you up when we get closer and out to the ferry. Until then, see you on the road. All right, so we made it to the ferry. We had to move. We kind of had to hustle a little bit, but we managed to make one of the ferry crossings. And the legends are true. If you're headed one way to Prince Edward Island, it's free. So we don't have to pay $85, which I'm really pumped for. This is really, really awesome. We had a really good little run down through some of the back roads of Nova Scotia, which were quite nice. And yeah, it was a lot of really cool and fun twisties. But we started looking at this idea a long time ago just to see if the possibility existed for us to hop on the ferry instead of adding another like hour and a half to our ride. And you know what, the butts are feeling kind of like they're iron right now with all the riding that we have been doing today consistently. So I think it's a pretty fitting way to end this little trip, you know, where we talked all about harbors and boats and things like that. We end up taking one home. So we're going to wait until we get our opportunity to get loaded on, and then we're going to check in with you guys in a little bit. Yeah, I've never taken the ferry to Prince Edward Island, and I've never been on this ferry. Right there?
Right there, good, right, yeah. Put a strap on, all right? You know the routine.
Strap it on? Yep.
Put a strap, yeah. Straps are hanging there.
Perfect, thanks. Okay, straps are to the side.
Okay. Well, we are now back on our beautiful red little island here in Prince Edward Island. After 5 days of riding through the Annapolis Valley and the South Shore, and boy, what a beautiful trip it was. So amazing. And we lucked out so well. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you. Luck didn't have anything to do with it. It was all Brandon. He timed it. I was going to take a back road route a little bit deeper into the back roads to take us up to Pictou County, but Brandon's like, you know what, if we go straight and we stick it and we push a little bit harder, we might make the ferry. And sure enough, we made the ferry. That's a $0 ferry trip right there, folks. You can't beat that. But man, we also saw Janil. That's right, buddy. It was great to meet you, man. Janil, Island Rider Janil, if you remember from our giveaway that we had for 1,000 subs, he won the t-shirt. And he was working the cash up there on the ferry, so that was very, very cool. And look what we have here. We have a huge harvester. Definitely know we're back at PEI now. So I suppose while we're all so speedy and stuff, I guess now's a good time to kind of do our wrap up and just do our little after action report, as cheesy as that sounds, but it's actually functional. I'll say from last year's little AAR band, we incorporated lots of things. So like more cooking in camp, sprinkling in the campgrounds. Those were all things that we said we wanted to do this year. I think we did it pretty good. But just to kick it off, what do you think were your 3 favorite moments from the trip?
3 favorite moments?
3 favorite moments that I asked you to prepare in advance.
Yeah, that's right. Well, first one, the first 2 spots that we slept at. So by the lake and that first campground where we had the view of the Bay of Fundy.
Oh yeah.
Those were both awesome. Electric City.
Yeah.
Weaving our way through there. And I don't know if you've got this one on video too much, but that section of trail where we were putting the bark clusters.
Oh yeah, man. I got a bit of that. I think I got a bit of that.
I think those are probably the top 3 for me.
Ah, yeah, man. Good points. I'm pretty much right there with you. Like, number 1 for me, again, just like that amazing wild camp. Like, that's my best wild camp result ever. And like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to beat it. Just the way the lake. Yeah. And Electric City, like you said, it was just the coolest thing. To be able to like, basically Indiana Jones that thing. Right? Like go in there and just like find all these different trails, asking the locals where to go, and then like just hoping that we'd find it within enough range to still have fuel to get back out. So cool. And then I think number 3 for me would have to be and I don't know how much of this I got on film either, but just riding up along the Annapolis Valley and seeing those amazing thunder showers on the horizon. And then it just looked really, really cool. It was kind of got Cape Breton vibes, where it just was so huge, it just made you feel a little bit smaller. So those are my three. But I would say this was just such a huge trip. There were so many awesome parts to it, you know. So like, on to like the points to sustain, I guess, is what we call them. When we want to do things the same again. I think for me, my biggest point to sustain was just like the campgrounds. I think I was always trepidatious about the campgrounds, thinking that because, you know, so many people had like bad experiences with like noisy neighbors and things like that. Like, I really was uncertain about it, but I think it was A1. Just gave us like that refresh every single time, and I loved it. Another thing that I think we should do again is not be afraid of like ducking down trails. Like, I know we didn't do that a lot, but we did do it a couple times where it was just like we saw a trail, it looked really awesome, and we just checked it out, and we sacrificed some of our time, and we were hurried a little bit in the afternoon, but man, it paid off. Like, that Electric City thing, that's all you, Sean and Ken, like you boys down there in Shubenacadie, like giving us the scoop on that. That's the best ever, man. What do you think, man? What are your points to sustain?
Yeah, points to sustain, pretty much same there with you, but also the cooking in the camp was awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, both of our camp loadouts, for the most part, seem to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, maybe little bits of room for improvement, but I don't think there's much.
Yep. And what would you do to improve next time?
Improve? Honestly, not too much. The only few things I would have is just specific loadout of the bike and how I'm packing it, but that's all just personal preference stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was a great trip, so hard to find points.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. We're starting to get this pretty dialed in, I think. For me to improve, I think it's just like when I'm doing the route card up, when I'm doing my big route plan, I gotta add more time to the actual, because like when I do these trips and I plan the route and I plan the adventures and the stories and the things that we're gonna go check out, I usually take a look in like Google Maps and I see how long it takes us to get direct highway pavement from point A to point B, and then I add a percentage of time for adventure, basically. So I think I got to jack that up by like probably, instead of like 40%, like 50%, because we were pretty hurried one day and it kind of took the steam out of us a little bit.
Yeah, we were riding pretty hard each day, so I mean, even if you pumped it up to like 60, I don't think you'd be find yourself hard pressed to do that.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky though. There's so much, like you were saying, like every time, like every place we went, you could spend like a day or like two just exploring. So it's hard to pass it up and be like, all right, it's time to go. Like, how do you leave that? The other thing I would say, breakfast in camp. Now, we did supper in camp and I nailed all my like camp cooking goals, which I'm so impressed with. But I think next time around, I'm gonna set up stuff for breakfast and maybe use those pancake things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, man, it was an amazing trip. It was so epic. Thank you again so much for coming with me on these things. I drag you out on this stuff so much, but you know, I don't think I could. It would just suck completely if you weren't there. So thank you so much for coming out, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, that was an amazing adventure, and that's putting it lightly. I truly believe that, you know what, if you just put yourself a little bit past your comfort zone and you go out and you try to find a story, you find an adventure, the adventure in a lot of cases just finds you. And you know what, this was the case every single day on this trip, and I love it. You know, I really think I once again got something big out of this. You know, the whole idea that the strength of a community is just an unbreakable foundation. And these small harbor town communities, and even in our community that we have something like that, it's just warms the old heart, Island Riders. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? It's about almost after 5 and the shadows are getting long. Can you believe it? It's 5 o'clock and the sun is on its way down. Man, it makes you feel like summer's almost over, doesn't it? But it's not quite over yet, folks. That's for sure. The season goes on. We've got the fall colors to look forward to. We've got those cool October rides. And oh my goodness, we've got some really, really cool adventures still to come here. This is just one of them. I want to thank you all again for coming out on this trip with me and Brandon. I really appreciate you having, you guys being there in the ride group. Like I said, I always think of you guys being right there with us whenever we're going on these adventures. So thank you as well for making this one special for all of us. I hope this comes out well. I hope the video series that I make from this, inspires you folks to get out there and do some stuff. And until you do some stuff like this, until you get out on your next adventure, be it Indianapolis Valley, at the South Shore, Cape Breton, New Brunswick, or here on the red dirt of Prince Edward Island, ride safe and take care, Island Riders.